Start this panel discussion I've been talking about since the start of the show. I have Brother Seth, Brother Troy, Brother Stanley. We're going to talk about issues as it relates to Christian men and how we address certain situations as we go through our walk in life. Again, gentlemen, thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
I tell you, one of the first issues I really want to talk about is this: why don't we go to church? Why do men not go to church? I saw a statistic that stated that on an average Sunday, a congregation will be 61% women, 39% men. I also wonder, do we recognize there is a God, but do we feel as though there's no value going to church? So again, why don't we go to church? And I'm going to start with you, Brother Stan, and tell us.
All those guys next to you, I used to agree. But I just feel a lot of times men don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to have someone over them because we have all the answers, so we think. And going to church, we actually surrendering our power to the pastor.
Okay.
That and it's sad that we think that way, but society has gotten us to believe that the pastor's not there for us when he really is. He's trying to help you with your spiritual growth. And somehow, in there, somewhere, men got it twisted.
Amen. Brother Seth.
I feel that as men, we are task-oriented. We like to know the job that we need to do, what needs to be done, and we like to develop our plan of action to get it done. And I think in a lot of churches, we're not preaching the mission and casting the vision of the church. And so as men, we're going to church, but we don't really see the purpose behind the church. So I think that if we begin to preach the mission and cast the vision of the church, then that will cause our men to want to catch on fire and be a part of something that is on purpose, destined for a purpose and an assignment. If we're just wandering about to and fro, the desire to want to participate is going to be minimal. But once we know the task at hand and what the church is about, then I believe that it will create a new passion and ignite a new fire and zeal within the men to attend church and be a part of church.
Amen, amen. Brother Troy.
Well, I think that for a man, we don't like to be vulnerable, and the gospel penetrates those places.
Amen.
And a man can find himself retreating because of that. But when we're ready for true deliverance, we'll run into the church then.
That's probably the last time. That's probably the worst time you come into churches, because sometimes if you need God at that last moment, you probably won't show up. So again,
His grace and His mercy, though.
Amen. Something else that we struggle with, and this is a big issue, and I know I hear it all the time from women, and actually even in our respective ministries: chivalry. I don't think chivalry is dead. I think it's just been hit over the head with a 2x4. It might be like a little unconscious, but chivalry seems to be an issue in our society, because as I attend church, or even out in the community, I see so many young men, or even men in general, go to the door first, don't open the door, don't extend an open hand. Matter of fact, I was talking with the producer off camera, and she had attended some function, and she said she got there somewhat, a little bit later on than the function started, and the place was filled with men and women, and she said she came in and she was the only woman standing. No one got up to offer her a seat. So again, what's wrong? What's wrong with chivalry? Is it completely just gone by the wayside? Brother Seth.
Coming from the younger generation, I don't believe it's gone by the wayside, but I believe that it needs to be, talked about and reiterated more. Coming up, with our parents, I was raised by my grandmother, so, oftentimes that's an old school raising, so to speak, so it's kind of instilled in you. But I believe, in working with other teenagers and working with other youth, that it's not, talked about in the homes, the common courtesy to open the door, to give up your seat. I don't believe it's dead. I just believe it needs to be resurrected, so to speak. Even though it's not dead, it's not lifeless, it's just been kind of put on, life support. And the life support needs to come off, and we need to start talking about it some more. Mentioning it and teaching our children. If we train up the children, the way that they should go, when they're older, they won't depart from it. It starts at the foundation. If the foundation isn't laid, my brother, then we're going to be in trouble. And I believe that with this generation, I can't speak for you all's generation, but with this generation, I believe the foundation has not been laid in a lot of places. once we get back to that foundation of laying that foundation, then we'll see it come alive again. I do.
Amen.
Yes.
Brother Troy?
You know, that's good, Brother Seth, because I don't think it's dead. I think it just needs to be taught a little more. And I love it because my son, I watch him, and even when he's with my wife and I don't have to open the door for her. He opens the door because he's used to seeing me.
That's right.
And so it kind of gives me a break to where I can just kind of sit back a little. But he's been taught that.
Amen.
Now, whether he does that with his friend girl, I think so. I think I saw it one time, which is good, but it just needs to be taught a little more.
Yeah. And
I want to piggyback on both what both Seth and Troy said, but I think what's happening, the families have been dismantled.
yes.
And with the families dismantled, the father's going this way, the wife is going that way. You know, we're being watched right now in our businesses, on our jobs, where we go. People are watching us. We're under a microscope. We are men. Don't never think that no one's paying you any attention. How you wear your shoes, how you wear your hat, how you wear your tie. Someone's watching you at all times. So this is what's happening with young men. They don't see it in the home. So how could they emulate something that they don't see? That's why we are so important here, because a lot of times we learn by seeing, right?
Right.
By doing, by repetition, right?
That's correct.
Our boys don't know what to do because they're not, once again, they're not the future. Let's get this straight now. We're the future. We have to teach them how to navigate through this thing.
Absolutely.
But no one's doing that. That's our responsibility as men to do that, and that's why chivalry needs to be shaken up a little bit.
Well, I agree, and even from the standpoint that even now some of the women, and I know I've gotten this back from men as well, they start looking over, I've gone and opened up the door, and the woman just walks by with no acknowledgement, you know. And some guys, you know, shit, maybe I should have tripped her the next time, you know. But the fact remains is that, you know, I think this needs to be to your point, Brother Seth and Troy and Stanley, this will be a rebirthing, if you will, a resurrection of what chivalry is on both sides. The acknowledgement that, you know, as men, that we will do those things that we're called to do, to recognize our women, and women recognizing that, hey, you know, this is something that that we're going to do for you, to recognize that you are our queen, that you are important to us. Let's talk a little bit about respect and communication, because right now, you know, and we talked a little bit about this off camera. We're in the holding room. That when I was growing up, there was so much respect for women. As a woman walked down the street, let it be a Sunday or whatever day it was, and let there be a gentleman standing on the corner, you know, with a bag in his hand, drinking something that maybe he shouldn't be drinking.
Right.
What would he normally do? Take that bag and
Put it behind
his back out of show of respect.
That's right.
Nowadays, you don't get that level of respect from just the way we communicate with the women. I've seen both young and old talk to women as though they're men, number one, or they just have no regard in terms of the conversation they have. Well, how do we fix this? Because again, this is a problem. Brother Troy.
Well, when you talk about respect, it's like this. If you want a friend, you got to first be friendly.
Amen.
So if you want people to respect you, you have to first respect them. And so and that's where it all revolves around. Who are you respecting? Because if you are respecting people, when it's your time